Hello. In this video, we're going to take a look at completing the numbers on an infusion pump. So we read the problem and it says the doctor ordered 500 milliliters of Ringer's lactate at 60 milliliters an hour. It is started at 13:20 on Wednesday. So the volume to be infused is given first. So I see that as 500. I'll plug that in. So we have a 500 milliliter bag, and it is infusing at 60 milliliters per hour. So I'm going to fill that in as the rate. So the one piece that is not given is the time. So people look at this from different perspectives. Some people like to memorize that the time is the volume divided by the rate. That's great. You can memorize that. It always works. Other people are going to set this up as an idea of a dimensional analysis. So what did we know? Well, we knew that we had a 500 milliliter bag. And we knew that the rate involved is 60 milliliters per hour. Now, the harder part of setting this up by dimensional analysis is knowing where to start. And so the key thing in any dimensional analysis is that you want this answer, hours, to be on top. So I started with my 500 milliliters as what I was given, but if I want to start with the 60 milliliters per hour, then I see that right now hours is on the bottom. And so that's not going to allow me to solve for time. So if I want to solve it for time, I'm going to have to say, well, 1 hour infuses 60 milliliters. That's what happens. They are equivalent. So saying the 60 milliliters in 1 hour or 1 hour for 60 milliliters doesn't matter. I can flip that fraction. And then that gives me hours on top so that my answer is not going to be in the denominator. My answer is where I need it to be. And then I can put the 500 milliliters next. And because multiplication can be in either order and division, this is going to work out to be the same no matter which way I set this up. So as long as I have that hours on the top, this is going to work out. So I'm going to take my calculator and take 500 and divide it by 60. And that gives me 8.3 repeating. And the label for this is hours. So if I would have taken volume of 500 divided by rate of 60, this gives me the same answer. So that's the memorized way. If I go with the dimensional analysis approach, I can set it up either strategy that we have here, starting with the volume or making sure my hours are on top, and I get this number. Now that's great because I have here this whole number, which is 8 hours. And so that can go into my infusion pump, 8 hours. However, this decimal is a decimal of an hour. This is not in minutes because our minutes are not based on 10 like our decimal system. I actually do have to do some works here. So I have to take this and convert to minutes. So on my calculator, I have this 8.3333. So on my calculator, 8 point all of the threes the whole way repeating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first put minus 8 equals. And the reason why I do that is because then my calculator has this entire decimal with the repeating. Okay, if I just type the threes in, I don't get the repeating. But because I had gotten the 8.3 repeating from the math, if I just take out the whole number 8 that I've already written in as 8 hours, I have this. Then I need to convert this to minutes. I know that 1 hour is 60 minutes, so I'm going to multiply that by 60. Just that decimal times 60. So times 60 on my calculator equals 20. So 8 hours, 20 minutes. Now, if you had typed in several threes, so if you just do 0.3 times 60, you come out with 0.18, which is 0.3 times 60 is 18 minutes. That's not a right answer. So you're going to have to, if you're retyping this, you're going to have to put a lot of 3s in there so that you get to the right answer. Or you can do the strategy I showed you here. Lastly then, it asks us when, time and day, will the IV finish? So I have 13:20 as the start time, and I'm going to add to that 8 hours and 20 minutes. So 13 plus 8, you can do that part, the hour part. So this is divided here. This side is hours, this side is minutes. So 13 plus 8, that gives me 21. And 20 and 20 is 40. So 21:40 is the time of day for that. So time of day, again, it's based on 24 hours in a day. So it doesn't quite work out the same on your calculator as normal numbers that are based on 10. So that's why I did the hours as a separate part, 13 plus 8, and got 21. Did the minutes as a separate part and got 40 minutes. So let's try another one. So this one, IV of 500 milliliters, so immediately filling in the volume. It started at 2200 hours on Tuesday at a rate of 55.6 mLs per hour. So rate 55.6. In the first example, we talked through all the math, so I'm just going to go ahead and set this up. So 500 milliliters is the IV bag that I'm hanging. The rate is 55.6 milliliters, putting that on the bottom so it cancels to every 1 hour. Cancel, cancel. And again, you already know that there are different ways from example 1. So if you wanted to set this up a different way, you may, and you should get the exact same answer. So I have 8.9928, etc. on my calculator. So I'm seeing this as 8 hours. So fill that in, 8 hours. I'm seeing this, and this looks crazy close to another hour because 0.99 is really, really close. But I'm going to try it on my calculator. So on my calculator, I'm putting minus 8, and then I'm taking this decimal times 60. So times 60. And I get 59.568 minutes. Well, if I round that to the nearest whole minute, that is 60 minutes, and that is an additional hour. So instead of having an answer up here of 8 hours, I really need an answer of 9 hours because it is taking an additional hour. So I go back here to this, and it is 9 hours. And if you want to put the minutes, 0 minutes, because this rounded to 60, a whole hour. So when, time and date, is this going to be finished? Well, I want to add 9 to the hours because remember the 24-hour clock, this is the hour side, this is the minute side. I want to add 0 to the minute side. If I take 22 plus 9 on my calculator, I get an answer of 31. And 31 is not a helpful answer because that is not a time. The day restarts every 24 hours. So what I can see is that it would take from 2200 hours, it'll take 2 hours till midnight. And then there will be 7 hours of my 9 remaining. So the finish time here is 7 a.m. 2 hours of the 9 to get to midnight. 7 of the 9 past midnight gets me to 7 a.m. So we'll look at one more example of this. So it says the doctor has an IV of lactated ringers to infuse over 24 hours at 41.7 milliliters per hour. All right. Giving me some different information here, but I know the rate, 41.7. I know the time. It's going to be a full day. The nurse starts the IV at 17:45 on a Monday. When will it finish? Well, 24 hours is 1 day. So I can answer the when will it finish very easily. This is going to finish at 17:45 on a Tuesday. But I really skipped over where I have to do the math, and that is the volume to be infused is not given. Well, let's think it through. What do I know about this? Well, The first thing that I knew was that this is running for 24 hours. The second thing I knew is that it was going to infuse 41.7 milliliters in an hour. So if I put those together in a dimensional analysis to cancel hours and get milliliters, and I know I want milliliters on top because that's my answer. I don't want an answer in the denominator. I just multiply straight across. So 24 times 41.7, and I get 1,000.8 milliliters. Now I'm thinking in my head, I can picture IV bags. We've seen a couple in the last couple weeks, and none of them were 1,000.8 milliliters. So this 0.8 is truly rounding error. And I'm thinking the volume to be infused is a 1,000 milliliter bag. Why would I have some rounding error in this calculation? Because I didn't round at all. Well, we had learned that IV rates are needing to be rounded to the tenths. So my guess is that this, when they did the math, would have been 41.6 repeating, which got rounded up to 41.7. And so when I take that IV rate and I run that for an entire day, a full 24 hours, my math comes up with this extra portion of a milliliter, which is rounding error. And so that's why I went with an answer of 1,000. Now, before you stress about that, I put this one in the notes with this little rounding error rather than in the homework where you're typing an answer into the computer, because then it would be stressful if you had this rounding error. So I put it here so that we can connect that to real life, but you're not going to encounter homework problems with that rounding error involved.